Hello and welcome back to Kudo Camera Company live stream. Today we are going to be talking about how to mount a Canon FD adapter. So the way these adapters work, they'll allow you to take a vintage lens. In this case, we're going to look at Canon FD, and you can take the adapter. You can get your old lens. You're gonna put it on there, twist it, and we're going to lock the aperture, and we're rolling. So now this is going to work on, in this case, my Sony A7 Mark II. So I'm just going to find the lens release button, take that off. So now we're shooting with Canon FD 28mm f2.8, and it's just a really cool way to honor the history of photography, get some really awesome lenses and some super high quality unexpected results that that you're not going to get with your brand new computer generated modern day glass. So this is a really great way to pay homage to photography and to really enjoy all the different lenses. There's so many types. There's Minolta MD mount, Nikon F mount, M42 thread mount, but the one we're going to look at today is Canon FD. So let me just get this taken off. My dog Reggie's upstairs barking at the top of the stairs, so if you hear him, Reggie, you want to come down? Come on. All right, so without further ado, let's take a look at this adapter. So here we have this particular adapter is a KNF concept adapter. I sell these at Kudo Camera Company, so you can pick up KNF brand at my store. I also have generic brands available. The thing that's really nice about KNF concept is the quality of the build. In this case for Canon, if you already have one of these and you're trying to figure out how does it work, this particular brand has a really nice open and lock ring that allows you to engage the aperture, super high quality. The materials used are really, really nice, and the focal flange distance is going to be really dialed in, so you're always going to make sure you maintain your minimal focal distance while still being able to reach infinity. Anyone who knows about KNF concept will tell you that they're really affordable, and they are just worth the extra $5 or $10. So go check one out, get it from the store. So the way that these work, we'll start with the simplest lens to mount. I'm just going to clear these other guys off to the side for now, so to be less distracting. So if you try to lock it in while just kind of cutting to the chase here, if you have it in lock to start, you're in the wrong position. If you have it in open, you're in the right position. I give instructions on with every adapter every FD adapter that I sell. I include a set of instructions because it's the only one that's really not self-explanatory. So when you're turning this, what it's doing is moving that rod right there. And the reason it's moving that rod is going to pair up with this here, and that's going to engage the aperture. So when you have the lens off and you're trying to get the aperture to move just by doing that, it doesn't work. It's a two-part system with these Canon lenses. The lens has to be on, and these silver tabs have to be engaged, which I can just quickly show you. So basically, if you get a a pointer, it can be a little bit tough, but I'm going to give it a try. So you basically push down on these little tabs in here, and this one, and now you can see I can twist this. So when you have it twisted, and then let's see, I don't have it all the way twisted. I wonder if I should not worry about this right now, but let's see. I bring these videos to you live, so once in a while you're gonna bear with me if you could, just for humor me, I guess. And push it in again. Might not be able to get it to go. There we go. All right. So now when you have those engaged and you activate this, you can see now we're getting some action in the FD. So that's one way to test an FD lens. If you don't have an adapter or a camera with you, you can just pop in those silver screws. And then to get the lens back to normal position, what you do is you push the lens release button, and then I usually grab onto this guy and just kind of rotate it back until you still needs a little ways to go until you get it to click. So now it's back. So yeah, so when you're doing just this, it won't line up. But when you do the combination of mounting and twisting and then engaging this lever, all those things together are going to allow the lens to function. Normally with the body, you just click it on, turn it, and it works. It does all these things. But with the adapter, you have to have this bar. So if you start with it in the lock position, you can still put it on and click it into place, but let's see. Open. I got this here. Let me see. Let me check this out. This is really interesting. So I actually had this backwards. So if you have it in the open position, it's going to be backwards. So wow, this is going to be, I guess I just do this all second nature all the time. So if you do it in the let me just make sure I'm getting this right. If you, okay, so the way to read this is when you have it twisted to lock, so the arrow is pointing to lock. So if you have it twisted towards lock and you try to put it on, see how, can you, let me see if you're going to be able to see this. Get some light in there. The tab is on the wrong side of that bar when you have it in locked. So that's the reason that if you're having any difficulty, and chances are if you're searching for this video, you probably are having difficulty, check it out and see if you're having your bar on the wrong side of that little tab that we looked at earlier. So now if we take it off, and now we twist it towards open, so you want to have it twisted towards open, follow the arrow to open, and then you put it on. The bar in the back is now it's in the right position. It's behind. So now once you have it locked in, and then you twist it to lock, now we've got full control of the aperture. So you can see that. All right. So now we've got full control of the aperture. So that's the basics on how these work, how they mount. You can see I use these all the time, but And I was a little bit confused on the wording there for a second. But yeah, so if you put it on in lock, that's not a good thing. You want to have it in on open. If you need some sort of a saying or something to figure that out, it's just like, you know, you need an open door. You're not going to get through a locked door. So I don't think that's, you know, follow the arrows on this particular model. Some of the other generic models that I sell, they say open and closed. And so that's, you know, a similar situation. But you mainly, what you want to make sure is just when you're looking at that tab, you want it to be in the correct position. You can see how when it pushes forward, oops, I'm blocking it. When it pushes forward, see it's pushing that metal lever. So there you have it. All right. So, like I said, we're going to start with the easiest, which is the nFD, but now what we'll do is put it back to open before taking it off, just so you know it'll be in the correct position next time you use it. And twist the lens off using the lens release button, and now we're good to go. We're ready to try the next style. So if you thought that was fun, now you've got this breech lock to deal with on top of that. So Canon FD lenses are super popular. There were a ton of them in the United States, so there's a lot of them available. But between all these rotating barrels, you know, the nFD version is the easiest to use. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult, but still manageable. But I wanted to show you in general how that first version works, so you could now move on to this more advanced version. So one thing I always recommend is when you're doing your adapter, always do it off your camera first. So you want to get the adapter onto your lens, get that all sorted out, and then put it on your camera. That way you're not going to have it open have your body open at all. So with this, the lens mount, you rotate it up into position. You line up the red dot with the red dot here. Now the most important thing is, and I send this with the instructions for everyone, is have it to open. So follow the arrow to open first. So we're following the arrow to open. Have it in open. And now you mount this just like it mounts on a camera. You line up the red dot to the red dot. Once you have it in, you can see it's already starting to twist on its own. We'll finish it off, get it nice and tight. So now it's tight, it's locked in. Now we're going to move from open to locked. And now we'll have control of the aperture. I did a review video on SSC versus nFD versus FL, and one of the main characteristics on these SSC lenses are so many of them are just loaded with oil on the aperture blades. This is the worst example I have at the moment, so I wanted to make sure you get a chance to see that. When you have an oily blade and you're adapting to mirrorless, because it's all stop down mode and you're controlling the aperture by hand, it doesn't have as much of an effect as if you were needing to use the auto aperture feature and you needed these lenses, the aperture itself, to be really snappy. So when you're using a 35mm camera, usually what it does is it will be wide open, and then when it takes the picture, it, you know, opens and closes, or closes and reopens quickly. And so the oil in that case can be a big detriment, but when you're using it for mirrorless and you have it adapted, it's not as much of an issue. So that's this one. So again, when we're ready to take it off, I put it back into open, just like when I'm going to put it on, and then twist this barrel lock back to the sort of unlock position, and then it comes apart. So what you do to start with this lens to get it ready, make sure it's twisted all the way to the left and kind of locks into its own little slot there. Then you line up, well, first we're going to make sure this is turned to on. Line up red dot to red dot, and that'll kind of get started. You finish it off, get it nice and tight. Then to engage the aperture blades, which, you know, same thing, we have the post on the correct side back there. You're going to turn this towards lock. Now we've got control. Okay. So last but not least, we'll take a look at this FL. The FL lens is very similar. Again, I've got a video about the differences between all the different types, but this was giving me a really hard time, even just mounting on my camera. So this one looks like it's fallen down the stairs a few times, but that's okay. Still plenty of utility left. So I'm going to start out just like all the others. I'm going to switch this over to open to start. Follow the arrow to open and line up your red dot here with the red dot here. Get it seated and then give it a good twist. Yeah, so this ring is giving me a problem on all the different things I use it on. Not a big surprise. These lenses get pretty beat up, like this particular older one. There we go. I got it to go. So that's tight. So now it was on open to start. I'm going to switch it over to lock, and then when I turn the aperture blades, it will go for me. So the FL and the SSC are much harder to do, but once you get used to it, it's kind of second nature. And you just follow that over and it comes off. Now the thing that's a little bit different with the FL is that it has kind of a handy feature. Having it locked or open really doesn't matter for this particular lens if you engage the auto aperture control versus the manual aperture control, but the other versions of these Canon FD lenses do not have that, so they don't have this switch here. So as a general rule, if you're switching between FL, FD, and you don't want to get too bogged down, just remember you always want to have it in, so twist towards lock to engage the aperture, and then you're always going to have lock with the aperture, twist towards open to take off the lens or mount the lens, and always mount the lenses off the camera first. And that way, when you're messing around with it, you don't have any dust getting inside the camera. So yeah, so that's the basics. If you have any questions about adapters, I have so many different types in the store. Everything from Canon FD, Minolta MD, Nikon F, M42, Pentax K, Konica AR. Did I say M40? I said M42. M39 with like a thread mount, and for most of the major mirrorless cameras. So we have Sony E-mount, Fujifilm FX, Olympus Micro Four Thirds, or Panasonic Micro Four Thirds, and there's a few in there for EOS cameras as well as Nikon DSLRs, but the main ones that are just super popular right now are the mirrorless adapters. So you can find them at kudocameracompany.com and get a link to our eBay store or our Amazon store. And if you're watching these videos, please subscribe. Once I get to 100 subscribers, I'll be able to have a custom URL. So I think that's a pretty achievable goal in the near term. So it would be great if you could subscribe, like, and please do check out the store. We have plenty of adapters, vintage lenses, vintage camera bodies, really cool, funky camera straps, and that's kind of what we focus on. So please check us out, and happy photography. Best of luck.